Awesome. Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're just tuning in, this is our third block of webinars. So thank you all so much for being here, for joining us. For students that are in different time zones as well, especially in the East Coast, thank you for hanging in there and joining us pretty later in the evening. But today we have some really amazing panelists that are, I'm really excited to hear about their experiences and their journeys and their backgrounds. And I know they're excited to share about their experiences as well. But before we get into that, I do want to go over a couple housekeeping points that you may have heard throughout different sessions. So, as you know, we are extremely thrilled to be able to be giving out gift cards as well as scholarships this evening. So just a quick reminder that you're eligible to receive these prizes by one being a fulfillment fund student, and then two by making sure that you are asking questions, staying engaged in the chat. We want to give a big thank you to our generous scholarship sponsors for the evening: Sony Pictures Entertainment, Cormark International, and Phil Passion. So we definitely appreciate your all support. And so yeah, so we'll go ahead and kick it off. And like I said, I'll be monitoring the Q&A to make sure that I don't miss any questions, or I try to get to as many questions as possible. So my name is Mauro. I'm the lead college success advisor here at Fulfillment Fund. And so today I'm going to be moderating the Fulfillment Fund Alumni Legacy Leaders What I Wish I Knew panel. And so to kick things off, I wanted to give our panelists a quick minute to one, introduce themselves, but also I was hoping you all can share a little bit about what interested you in pursuing your current career, your current careers and or your current research interest for those of us in grad school. And so I wanted to start off with Daisy, if you can kick us off.
Yes, of course. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. My name is Daisy Mateo. I'm a third-year attorney doing labor and employment law. I'm also a Fulfillment Fund alumni. I'm from Los Angeles, California, born and raised. The oldest daughter of immigrant parents, and the first in my family to go to college and go to law school. So for me, being part of the Fulfillment Fund has been such a kind of remarkable experience. Being from a first generation to a student to now being an attorney. And I'm sorry, I forgot what exactly did you want me to talk about? Like the prompt? Like,
Yeah, so yeah, thank you for sharing that. I kind of, in addition to that, like, what was it that motivated you to pursue this career path that you're in right now?
yes. So for me, I think I didn't really think about becoming an attorney until I had my first internship, like in like my summer before college. I There was no attorneys in my family. My mom was a housekeeper, my dad waited tables. There was no the possibility of being an attorney was never like in my brain, and until like my first
Mhm.
internship, like I interned for Univision, and I worked for their legal department and their HR department. And that was really the first time that I like saw attorneys that looked like me. And so I think that kind of sprung the seed of like, oh, maybe I could be an attorney. And that's kind of what really started and prompted, my wanting to be an attorney. And then from there, I started just kind of, once I went to college, started thinking about that career. But I think ultimately, I decided to be an attorney because, I always felt like I always advocated for my family, for my parents, growing up, translating documents, sometimes speaking on their behalf for things like that a 9-year-old probably shouldn't be doing at that at that age. But I think that just kind of came naturally for me. I just felt like it was a good career path for me, and I felt that it was a very empowering no matter what I ended up doing with that degree.
Mhm. Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. And I think that that piece that you mentioned about translating documents, speaking on our family's behalves is something that resonates with a lot of our students, right? So thank you for highlighting that. Marco, I'll pass it off to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mauro. And hello to everyone who is tuning in and listening. I wish I could see your faces, but this will do. So Very much like how Daisy mentioned, I didn't really foresee myself being or ending up in commercial real estate. So I actually started off my career in entertainment as an analyst, underwriting loans, and then I went on to being in sales in multinational corporations at JP Morgan, and then now I am vice president of commercial real estate at City National Bank. And what really drew me into real estate, I've always been fascinated by real estate, but it was the idea of building something real and tangible. I grew up seeing people work hard just to get by, so the thought of helping others, creating stability, whether that was through a property, a business, felt powerful, and I wanted to be part of that. And for me, how I see it or how it is real estate combines that strategy, finance, and community. So I work on a lot of affordable housing projects right now. So just being able to drive by and seeing the work that these developers that I'm working with come to fruition, that's really inspires me to keep on going. And really, the biggest influence in my life has been one, the Fulfillment Fund, and two, the mentors that I met through the Fulfillment Fund. And so I felt that all of that in combination just kind of led me to be where I'm at. But I never really saw myself being in real estate as a high school student, for example. So I feel like you kind of just land in your job along the way. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think some folks might kind of already know, like, yeah, this is where I'm gonna be, and others might kind of kind of pave the road along the way, right? As they kind of building the plane as you fly it, as the saying goes, right? So thank you for that. Shirley, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Shirley. I'm a first year counseling psych PhD student at UC Santa Barbara. Um, and yeah, I grew up in LA as well, South Central LA, New Designs Charter School, where it got connected with Fulfillment Fund. And yeah, I guess what led me to try to pursue this career? There's a lot of things that I can think about for this question. I guess the first thing is like my personal experience, right? I am, interested in mental health and psychology, partly because I had my own personal experiences with like navigating the mental health service system, right? Trying to find more like culturally relevant, I guess, support for, like Latina or communities of color. I feel like sometimes psychology can be very Western in general sometimes, but so partly because of that, and secondary because I guess I was able to learn about mental health only once I got to college, once I took college courses. I feel like there is very like maybe limited resources that I saw in my community. So I'm also interested in like maybe addressing that. And that kind of goes into like my research interests and like what I'm interested in terms of like my career. But yeah, so things that I saw personally and being able to finally learn about mental health. And connecting that with my personal experiences, I feel like I just felt like a natural, I guess I felt naturally drawn to pursuing like a career in psychology. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shirley. I really appreciate you sharing that. And so, as I hear you all talk about your experiences, I think, Fulfillment Fund sounds like is a common denominator, right? And so you all are Fulfillment Fund alumni, but I think the other piece that sticks out is this first generation identity, right? And so I was hoping you all can share a little bit about how your experience, sharing about your experiences navigating college as a first generation student and how that's impacted you now. And yeah, again, Shirley, I know on your end, like you can share a little bit about kind of what that grad school or what your current grad school experience is. So, I'll open it to whoever would like to take the question first.
Sure, I can go ahead first.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so man, feel that that's a tough question, just kind of like thinking back at it. But coming from a low income immigrant household, so I'm from Mexico, and I came to the U.S. when I was 7, and so ever since from an early age, it was hard for me and my family to navigate the educational system. Many reasons, language barriers, culture, you name it, and I feel like a lot of people who's listening can relate to that. And college for me was like an uncharted territory. There was really no roadmap. No one really at home that could explain how things work other than Fulfillment Fund. So I kind of had to figure out everything on my own. Um, well, not everything on my own, because Fulfillment was a really big resource for me. But I worked while going to college. I made tons of mistakes. I failed a bunch of classes, and I feel that I just learned through trial and error. But that experience gave me something that I feel that no textbook or class can teach you, and that is grit. It taught me how to survive in unfamiliar environments and how to adapt fast. And really, that has helped me succeed in my career. Today in real estate, those same qualities help me thrive. Because in this industry, it rewards people who figure things out, who stay hungry and persevere, and really who don't give up. So I feel that my experience as a first generation student was difficult. And I feel like everyone's lives is difficult, right? But I feel that coming from a family that no one in my family went to college, coming from that background, um, having to work to kind of pay off my school, kind of figuring things out in that sense just made things a lot more difficult. But I feel like I said, I feel like it's just trial and error, and it teaches you grit. And it's not easy, but I feel like Fulfillment Fund was a very big resource for me, so that made it possible.
Mm. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Marco. Daisy, Shirley, would you all like to add anything?
Yeah, I can share my experience. Yeah, so as a first gen, I guess my college or educational journey started at community college. I just felt like it was I guess more it was more accessible to me considering like the financial support that community college provided, and also because I did not feel prepared to go straight to a university, and I still wanted to explore. So yeah, even at the community college level, as a first gen, not having parents who've gone to college before, or anyone in my family who hasn't gone to college or has been to college, it just meant like I had to be really resourceful. So it did mean like talking to all my counselors. It didn't mean going to office hours. It did mean like, doing everything I could to try to like learn more about resources available on campus, and also just for me, considering I wanted to transfer to a university. So it just meant like, yeah, I guess trying to learn, getting past the shyness and asking, learning more about the journey, learning from other people who have done the journey before as well. So definitely reaching out to people was big. And even for like applying to grad school, it was like a lot of learning online, like seeing what other people have done as well, looking at online resources and talking to like mentors in the field that I was able to connect with from volunteering or from like jobs that I've done before. So it just meant, yeah, reaching out to mentors and just like trying to learn what's out there as a first gen. Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you, Shirley.
And I guess just to add to what Shirley said, I think resources are so important. Something that I think maybe I learned along the way was to just use all the resources you have in college, and I think they even have them more now. Like the fact that there's like a first gen group in my college now, like they didn't have that before. But for me, like I remember just being homesick. I when I went to college, my first year, first semester really, because I went to college in the East Coast and I'm from LA. And when I remember my first, cold winter and like not having family around, like, and it was just it was really hard. But then I remember like I met a lot of good people, and I was just really open to meeting, other students and, going to different events. And I think just for me, it was such a growth opportunity to go to college far away. I think I learned just to be on my own and to, be able to travel by myself. And really use the resources that are offered in college to become a better student, because same kind of what Marco said. Like I also like I think my first test, like I completely bombed it, and I remember thinking like I'm gonna fail from like college. And and just kind of having just like a reality check. Okay, I need to use office hours. I need to ask for help if I'm not understanding something. And then once I think I started doing that, I became a better student because I think I kind of got over the shyness of like, you know what, like you can't do this alone, you need help. And same thing, I remember my first semester, like I think after my first semester, they told me like in a nice way, like, oh, we're gonna put you like in a writing intensive course because basically my writing wasn't up to par. After my first year, I remember taking a political science class and a professor telling me like, oh, you're actually a good writer. Like, you know, where did you learn how to? And I was actually, they put me in a course that was like an intro class, and it really helped me, you know, become a better writer. And now I write for a living as an attorney. So like, you just never know, like, you know, like the resources that are offered in school, and you know, what might be like your worst subject could be the best subject that you have, but you have to kind of allow yourself to use those resources and really work hard at it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, thank you all for sharing that. And I think it sounds like again, like that common denominator is utilizing resources to the best of your ability, whether it's office hours, whether it's going to the writing center, finding like identity-based groups. I think is also huge for folks who are away from home and maybe even not so far from home, but need to find that community is needing to find the community is important. And so I'm taking a look at the Q&A, and I see a couple of questions that I we've kind of started to touch on, right? Like, questions like, kind of figuring out like career interest, navigating like college life as a first-gen student. There's one in particular that I'm looking at about imposter syndrome and kind of how imposter syndrome has, you know, whether that's been present or how it's been present in your lives, either in your career or in higher education. And so, Daisy, I was hoping we can start with you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I don't like to use the word imposter syndrome because I feel like that makes it kind of a reality, but like I think just kind of I think part of it is just kind of like, you know, allowing yourself to take up space. I think for me, like oftentimes when I go to court or when I'm in like meetings, I'm usually the only Latina attorney. And I've had times where they've mistaken me for like a paralegal or an assistant, and I just kind of let them assume whatever it is that they assume and then just go on with whatever I need to do my job. And I kind of let my work speak for itself. And I think I try not to internalize what others' assumptions are about me. Like, and so for me, it's just kind of like knowing that I went to the same law school, or I did the work, I passed the bar, like I put in the work, and just kind of, having faith in yourself and believing that, you earned your spot and you're as qualified as everybody else. And I think obviously that's easier said than done, but I think it comes with time and experience. And I think the more you allow yourself to be around people who are going to support you, like, for example, I go to a lot of like sort of like Latino kind of attorney events, and there I meet a lot of community of people who are in the same boat. And so I think also surrounding yourself with people who are supportive and who you learn from, I think is very important. But I would just say try not to let that's like a mental kind of roadblock that I think I've had to work on myself. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Marco, Shirley, anything to add to that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I can
No,
add.
go ahead, Shirley.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like imposter syndrome or imposter phenomenon, because I've also heard that word be used before. Um, I think that's pretty common. I feel like my relationship to it now is just like acceptance. Like these systems were not made for me or people who look like me. And maybe, yeah, other people have different ideas of that, but I feel like yeah, I think just learning that, okay, I'm here and I made it here despite, everything that wasn't working in my favor, right? And I earned the spot, like Daisy was saying, like I'm here. And I think it's something that never stops. Like even like in my research coordinator position, like I was working with a lot of doctors and things like that. So it was just like weird because I was like, oh my gosh, like these people have MDs. Like it's kind of like intimidating, and it is like, partly like the imposter phenomenon coming out. But you're there for a reason, and you did everything you did to be there. And you are capable, just like everyone else. I feel like just thinking about that is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Marco?
Yeah, I feel that for me, I definitely have felt and still feel the imposter syndrome. And starting early in my career, I went to a Cal State school, so for me, it was for at first it was kind of difficult just navigating the whole internship process, mainly because all these banks were recruiting from UCs or private schools or Ivy League. So being in a room where you have people that went to Berkeley or went to Stanford, and it's like, okay, I'm this kid from like Cal State Northridge. It makes you feel small, but along the way, like what Daisy said, everything comes with experience, so you're able to beat that. So I feel that now, I still experience the imposter syndrome, when I walk into a room and no one really looks like me, or, no one really talks like me, or no one really came from, South Central, or has like an immigrant background, you kind of question if you belong. But I feel that it's one thing that I've learned along the way is that it's all about confidence, and confidence comes from preparation. So I decided that if I don't have the same background, if I don't talk the same, I don't have the same verbal fluidity as someone else that's native here or anything like that, then I'd rather have, the best work ethic in the room. And so I feel that for me, the way that I beat the imposter syndrome is I try to show up early, stay late, I ask questions, I try to educate myself on whatever it is that I'm going to be discussing with people. And over time, like Daisy said, your results speak louder than your insecurities, or anything like that, any mental roadblocks that you might be experiencing. And so I feel that that's kind of how I've been able to beat that imposter syndrome, even though it comes, or it's never really going to go away. It's kind of like a mental thing that you got to work on, and it's really through action. You're never really going to be perfect, but you could definitely be prepared. And I also have realized that a lot of people that I've met now who are Latino, who are in positions of power, and who come from affluent backgrounds, it's really that I feel that as kids, I probably never really got the exposure that they did. And so I feel that when we're in the same scenarios or different same situations or different same environments, they're able to navigate through these environments a lot easier than I can, because they were exposed at an early age, in this kind of scenarios, in this kind of environments, and I never really had that exposure growing up. And so I feel that, like a piece of advice that I would give to people listening is try to give yourself that as much exposure as you possibly can. Like if you're in college, if you're in high school, start early, because it's easier to work on it when you're young, and really like try to take that serious, because when you enter the workforce, it's going to be a lot easier to be able to navigate this situations that in your head might feel impossible, or you might feel like you don't belong, but you definitely belong. It's just about exposure.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for adding that. And I really love how you all kind of touched on different points. Taking up, allowing yourself to take up space, feeling the confidence, coming in prepared. And someone also mentioned like you earned this spot, right? And I think that's something that we also try to encourage students to put on that lens, right? Like out of the hundreds of thousands of applications that this specific university got, like yours was selected, and so you did earn this spot. So thank you for highlighting that. One of the things that was also mentioned was about building community, right, and being able to kind of connect with others who whether they share similar identities, or backgrounds. And so one of the questions in the Q&A was about it was specifically about being in the East Coast, right? Coming from LA, being in the East Coast, feeling isolated. But I also think that there, even for those of us who don't go off too far out, there might still be moments where we might feel a little bit isolated or alone. And how do we navigate that, like those kinds of environments? And so Daisy, I'll pass it back to you, because again, I know the question was specifically for the East Coast, but I definitely would love for all of us to chime in.
Yeah, so I guess the question would be like, how are you comfortable like away, being far away? Is that Like, I want to make sure I understand the question.
Yeah. So the student wrote, as a student also going to college in the East Coast and also from LA, could you touch a little about how you adapted to your environment and stayed afloat mentally if you ever felt isolated and alone?
Yeah, I mean, I think my first semester, first year, really, I think I felt really isolated and really homesick. I didn't realize how much part of my identity is my family and is the people, I surround myself with. And I went to the East Coast. I went to a women's college back east, and actually through the fulfillment fund, because they exposed me to talking about exposure. Like, I don't think I ever would have gone to school in the East Coast had I not gone to see that school. And when I went to that school, I was like, wait, actually, I could see myself here. And so I think my first really year, I think what I realized was like I needed to really be open to experiences. And by that I mean it's like meeting people, going to these different events, trying different groups to see, who I would meet. And it's funny because I remember going to kind of like the Latina affinity group, and I was like the only Latina from LA that was like Mexican, but everybody else was like Puerto Rican or Cuban or whatever it was. And it was like a very different, I thought, we would connect more, but it was a different type of Latino. And I
Hmm.
remember actually connecting more with my hallmates who were like Japanese, Indian, and it's like you just I guess what I'm trying to say is like just be open to, making friends with different people. And I just like for me, I was kind of a culture shock because like I was so used to like being in LA, like all my friends looking like me or speaking Spanish. And some other friends that I met, like they had never had like a real taco before. It sounds silly, but it's like they were just like they're like you've never had a taco. I was like no, and or like for them like you've never seen snow, like no, because I live in LA. So and, little things like that. But I think once I started kind of opening up to people, I think that's when I realized, oh wait, I really like being here. I like the people I go to school with, like I like my professors. But I think it's also I mean it's natural to feel alone, and especially your first year. And I would be lying to say that I didn't think about, transferring after my first year because I was really homesick. But I think at the end of the day, I think I told myself like I would give it a chance, and I'm glad I did because I think I grew the most in those 4 years than if I would have probably stayed closer to home because I had to. So I would just say just allow yourself to go on that journey because you just never know who you'll meet along the way.
Hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, I mean, like you said, like snow is real, right? Like we don't we don't experience that here in Los Angeles, and it's definitely different. So thank you for that. Shirley, Marco, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I could add. So I was in LA while I commuted to PCC. And I didn't have to move too far, but I moved from South Central LA to Westwood for undergrad at UCLA, which is very different
Mhm.
from South LA. So even that in itself was definitely an experience, right? It's a more affluent community over there. It's a predominantly white institution. And yeah, I guess for me, finding community was more through, yeah, like student organizations on campus. My family's background is from Guatemala. My parents are from Guatemala, so I joined like Central American student groups. I feel like that helped me, and then also just connecting with other transfer students, right? Because I transferred from community college. I also joined a lot of like transfer events, and that's something that also attracted me to UCLA. So I feel like, yeah, exploring your identities and joining different groups from your interests, like your hobbies and things, are a good way to try to like, meet people and yeah, find your support system and find your community.
Mhm. Thank you.
Yeah, just to, echoing what they said, for me, I also went to community college. So I went to ELAC before transferring to Northridge. And for me is, I feel like, as you grow into your educational career or your career in general, you might outgrow people. who were once in your friend group or whatever. So I feel that even if you stay local, you might feel isolated because probably the friends that you once had might not share the same vision or might not be in the same mindset as you are now. So finding the right people, it's critical. Find those groups on campus that are like-minded like you, because that's really going to make your success, that's really going to make you reach success a lot faster, and it's going to make things a lot easier, and you're going to make friends for life. So for me, I was big on joining advocate groups on campus. When I was younger, I was really into just um, joined, like I was really an advocate for like immigrant rights and things like that, and always like to show my support. I was really like involved politically, and so I kind of joined those groups early on in college at ELAC, and those are still some of my greatest friends. And then when I went to Cal State Northridge, like it's just an hour away from South Central, right? But I still felt a little bit isolated, and so I joined this group called Hermanos Unidos, and they have a chapter in almost every school. It's a brotherhood kind of group. It's not a frat, but it's more of a support group for men. So I've met a lot of my great friends through there, and like I said, it's really important for you to find like-minded people, because that's really going to make your path a lot smoother as you continue on. So I unfortunately never really got the chance to go to school at a different state. So I'm sure that's a different story. But staying here locally is, I feel like for me it was just as difficult. So just really finding the groups that are like-minded like you, that's really going to make things a lot easier and more fun, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for sharing that. And it sounds like a lot of it has to do with like you mentioned, Marco, like finding like-minded individuals, folks that share your interests, but also leaning into learning from folks who have different backgrounds and different experiences as well. I think that all contributes to that feeling of finding that community, right? So thank you for sharing that. So one of the questions that came up was about study abroad, and I kind of wanted to sort of kind of open up a bigger question of like experiential learning, right? They're like internships, work, volunteer opportunities. I'm not sure if any one of you studied abroad, but if you did, I think it'd be great if you all can share a little bit about what that was like, or if you all can share what your approach was to finding some of these experiences, right? Like I mentioned, internships or volunteer or work opportunities.
I can go for the study abroad. Oh, sorry, you can go, Marco.
No, go ahead, Daisy.
Um,
Yeah.
I I did study abroad 1 semester to Granada, Spain. And I mean, I loved it. Like I think that was one of the experiences that I'm glad that I was able to have while I was in college. Um and for me, I think there's been kind of stepping stones. Like I went to school far away, and so the idea of going around the country, and I was just like, I never would have thought I would be, okay with doing that. But then I think I kind of like always had this mentality of like, okay, it's only going to be 4 years of college. It's only going to be 1 semester of this, of studying abroad. And I'm so glad that I did, because talking about just kind of different cultures, and I was able to speak Spanish like in a different setting, meet people from other colleges. Just I lived with the host family, a local family from Spain, and so I kind of got to like live their day to day, and they kind of adopted me kind of like as a daughter, and I would have dinner with them every day. And it was just such a like a cool experience. So I would say if you have the opportunity, by all means do it. Because I felt kind of like a local for 1 semester, and like honestly at the end of the semester I didn't want to come back. I was just like, this is like really, really nice. Like I get to walk to school, like I don't have to drive anywhere. Like um yeah, so I would just say like those, like traveling, like I never would have thought of like traveling. Like growing up, like there was no means for us to travel, me and my family. So like if we did travel, it would be to like Mexico, like to the pueblo. Like I wouldn't go anywhere. So like it just like for me to travel somewhere like to Spain, I was able to travel to London, to other places. I think that was really the start of sort of my journey of just kind of like exploring the world. And so, you know, anytime that I can, I like to travel abroad. And so I would just say, just let yourself go on that journey again, because I feel like you learn so much of yourself through like traveling and meeting different people and, you know, seeing different cultures.
Mauro, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, you know, we were talking about studying abroad, but also what your approach was to gaining experience from either internships or work or volunteer opportunities, or how you even go about like accessing those.
Yeah, so I unfortunately did not have the chance to study abroad, but if you have the chance to study abroad, please do it because I feel that that is something that I wish I could have done. Um, and so, anyway, but in terms of finding or gaining practical experience, internships, and that thing, it's really about networking. I got my first internship by raising my hand at a class. I had a money and banking class, and our professor he brought someone from City National Bank to teach the class for the day, and he was in mergers and acquisitions at the time. And after the class, I was really interested in everything that he was talking about. It was someone that he was Latino, he was doing the thing, and I thought it was really cool. So I asked him for a business card, and it was the only business card that he had with him, and he gave it to me. And I followed up that same night, and he responded back to my email. He invited me for coffee. He introduced me to a recruiter, and that's how I was able to basically jumpstart my career in finance. So it's really about networking and really putting yourself out there and not being shy to ask questions, or if you're like listening in this conversation, you have a great resource available to you, which is the Fulfillment Fund, and it has such a great network. I've been connecting and talking to different people, to different students who want to learn about real estate, who want to learn about finance, and I take the time to talk to them. So I feel that if you do that, if it has such a big network with different industries, if you take the time and send that email, make that phone call, opportunities will come to you. I feel that persistence yields results. And so, really, that's how I was able to gain practical experience. Yeah, just exposing myself and networking and raising my hand.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I don't know how many folks can, you know, earn an experience like that by raising their hand, but I think networking is absolutely important. And sometimes I see networking as like you get to know somebody and then you can potentially have access to their network as well, right? So you're essentially meeting more people that way. So thank you for highlighting that. Shirley, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, so I yeah, I like to emphasize the networking for sure. I feel like that definitely helped me I guess gain more research experience in order to get to where I am right now. So I guess from my experience, I did talk to like one of the professors in one of my classes. Like I just, try to approach her because she was one of the first like Latina professors I had. So I was like, oh my gosh, like she's so cool doing research. And it was like a mental health and racism class, and it was like really cool, like addressing, issues I was interested in. And so yeah, she invited me to volunteer for her lab. So I guess it did require a little bit of like free labor. I like to always emphasize that sometimes that's what you have to do, unfortunately, in order to, network and gain experience in the beginning. And volunteering for her lab allowed me to later after graduating, like secure a, full-time paid position as a research coordinator within that same like Department of Psychiatry at UCLA. So yeah, I feel like networking is very important and talking to people, speaking up, and not being shy to just, talk with someone, just have a conversation and see where it goes. Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for highlighting that. And you know, kind of surely off of that point, this next question is about mentorship. And so I wanted to ask if you all have any mentors who played a significant role in your career development or maybe even expanding like, you know, research interests, things like that, and how did you connect with them? So Marco, if I can start with you on this one.
Yeah, I have a mentor who has really helped me throughout my career, and I met him at back in 2012, and his name is Brian Werdeshim. I believe I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, but he really I met him at a breakfast that Fulfillment Fund hosted, and I just built that relationship with him early on, and I really just I was just curious about his career and what he did and how he got there, and really curiosity got me a long way. So he has been there at every step of the way, just kind of he's a good person to bounce ideas with. I mean, he's been in the industry for a long time, so he's very experienced. And I've had other mentors as well in the workforce when I at work that have showed interest in helping me. And so I feel that when you find someone that's cool, that's willing to help you out, that shows interest in helping you, take that and take advantage of that, learn as much as possible. You I mean, if you have a three, I'd say like a good number is try to find three mentors, right? Like it could be a professor, it could be someone from an internship, it could be someone from Fulfillment Fund. There doesn't really matter, but really mentors are there to help you out and are there to offer their experience. And so I feel that you can learn so many things by asking questions, being curious. And believe it or not, a lot of people are willing to help you. So reach out. You never know who's gonna offer a lot of value to you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Daisy, Shirley, would you all like to add anything?
Yeah, I can talk about mentorship. Um, Yeah, so the professor that I went up to, she's still my mentor to this day, Dr. Jocelyn Mesa. Shout out her. She's a real one. But yeah, through her, I feel like I was able to learn more about, the career of becoming a psychologist. She gave me that experience to volunteer in her lab. And then from there, after going into full-time position, I was able to gain more mentors that are still writing my letters of rec, for everything I'm applying to, and, are willing to give me more insight on like what research looks like, what careers, can I pursue or what things are available out there. So, yeah, I feel like Marco was saying, like people are willing to help you. You just have to ask and take that chance. A lot of people are willing to, help you get to where you want to be. Mhm.
And just to quickly add to that, I mean, I think again, like if you meet people along the way that are willing to talk to you, arrange coffee or try to like, be curious and ask questions, particularly if they're doing something that you want to do, because you just never know. And I think that's kind of how you form like an organic relationship with your mentor. And because you just never know, sometimes you just need like an idea or, like I was just kind of thinking like today I was reaching out to a mentor of mine who had a question about some legal issue, and I don't work with him, but like I've met him, at one of my law school alumni, kind of like meetups. And he became a mentor of mine here in LA and does the same type of law. And sometimes when I have questions like that I don't feel comfortable maybe asking one of the partners where I work, or I feel like it's just maybe too complex, and I'm like, I want to reach out to someone else, like I kind of like just pick his brain. And so it's kind of nice to have someone who I can kind of turn to and ask questions sometimes when I feel like, I need a little bit more guidance.
Yeah, thank you to all of you for sharing again and highlighting the importance of being able to tap on somebody when you have a question, when you want to just grab coffee, when you need a letter of recommendation, right? Because you never know when that's going to come in handy as well. And so I think that's definitely something that our students can relate. And letters of recommendation can be for, it can be for graduate school, it can be for scholarships, it can be for a number of things, even references, right? I think references are another huge thing to have in the professional world. So thank you. So we are coming down on like the last 3 minutes or so. This is going to be a lightning question. So, the last question I had is a piece of advice that you would give to yourself as you all were thinking about pursuing your career interest, or as you even started thinking about like what that could look like for you. So yeah, piece of advice. And I'll start with Shirley.
I was still thinking. But yeah, I think I really wish I had like planned ahead, but that's like really hard to do. So I don't think that's like the greatest advice. But if you are curious about something, like just lean into that curiosity and just like, pursue that. Because I feel like that worked out for me in the end. Like despite me not having a plan, I was still able to like just follow my interest, like in psychology at first, and then seeing where that took me, and then exploring research in psychology, and like, yeah, learning how to combine my different research interests. So I would just say like, just follow your curiosity and like, let that motivate you for your career path as well.
So thank you. Daisy?
I echo what Shirley says. I mean, I would just say stay curious. If you have an interest, ask about it. I mean, something that I think that I didn't have, now that people just resources. Like I think now just like a simple Google search, or just about something that you're curious on. LinkedIn, you can also use it as a way to kind of like see, look up people who maybe are doing something that you want to do, and you can see like the trajectory. Like stay curious, ask questions. And I also just like know that sometimes like a career is also based on relationships, talking about networking. And so kind of in building that foundation early on, like I think that's something that I didn't learn until like later on, like when I was in law school, that I wish I would have done earlier, and just kind of like be less timid and talk to people and ask questions about whatever career you're interested in.
Thank you. And Marco?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think about it often. I feel that if I were to tell myself, younger Marco, a piece of advice, it'll probably be to move with more confidence, even when you're scared. I feel that I spent a long time doing something that I did not like. I was crunching numbers, writing essays, and I hated that. And I did it for 5 years. And I wish I could have believed in myself a lot more. And I wish I could have jumped ship, and I could have gotten a different job, but I didn't believe in myself at first. So the confidence didn't come until later on. And so I felt that if I would have moved faster, if I recognized something that I didn't like, drop it, move on from it, pick something new. Like really everything that you really, when you look back, I feel like you realize that everything was already inside of you. If you can say it like that, it was already in you. You just have to believe it. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it's so true. You need to manifest it. You need to speak it out. You need to really move with confidence. Don't be scared to leave a job. Don't be scared to leave something. Like you just have to believe in yourself, and really pursue your dreams, if you will, because I feel that you might spend a long ass time somewhere, and you're just gonna grow unhappy. And really, like, happiness for me is like the biggest thing. So I'll probably tell myself that just stop being scared, dude. Just fucking go.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Marco, for for adding that, and I really appreciate you all's your time, again, sharing your experiences with our students. To our participants, if you all can just take a second to help me thank our panelists for their time, and for sharing their experiences. And I'm sure that they'd be happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. So make sure that you are looking them up. So we do have our closing session coming up, our closing remarks. So make sure that you're tuning into that. And just an early congratulations to all of our students who are winning their prizes. So we are going to announce the winners after the event. So thank you so much for, again, taking time out of your evening to join us today.